Hello and welcome to the Pure Heart Church podcast. My name is Zach Good. I have the awesome opportunity to be the producer on this podcast, and I think we have a great episode for you today. We actually got the chance to sit down with Tracy Beal and her daughter Shea to talk about School Connect, what that is and what's going on here at Pure Heart and what we're doing with School Connect. So it's a really awesome thing, and I think you're going to really enjoy hearing about it. So without further ado, let's jump in with our hosts, Heath Bottomley and Matt Nystrom.
So we got a great podcast coming up for you, and I'm sitting here with my co-host, Matt Nystrom, and, we just been, talking about some things even off camera and everything, but I know that this topic came up, and I thought we have to talk about this because I think it's one of those things that is so ingrained in our memories. Our first vehicle.
Our first vehicle.
It matters to it. Like it did something to us. You're shaped.
It's your identity.
Yeah.
And I don't think parents realize this. When they give their child that,
you're setting some definite standards for that child moving forward.
Something beat up, whatever, but there's this identity that comes from it, and whether they get mocked by friends or not.
Oh yeah, I mean that's scarring, but it's shaping as well.
Yeah. What was your
trauma
first
does that?
Trauma does that.
Yes, and we're a trauma-informed podcast, and so.
So if you've also been traumatized by your first car, we would love to help you.
Yes.
Call on in to 555.
And it's one. Don't give a real number. Please don't give a real number. So, what was your first vehicle?
So my first vehicle, it was a brief amount of time I had this. My dad had been given by my uncle a 76, I believe it was, Cadillac. And so it was big. It was as big as you can imagine. Fits 28 of your friends comfortably inside.
Because they're love seats, right? Basically, they're sofas.
And plush. Yeah. I mean, that's, if you're going to go live in your car, actually, those were the cars to do it.
They're a house. They're a small apartment.
It was unique in a lot of ways. If you pushed the little lighter in, that's when cars had lighters.
Cigarette lighters,
little
yes,
cigarette
for those
lighter,
of you who don't know.
Push it in. All the electronics in the car would short out. It wouldn't stop, but your lights, the dash, any electronics, the radio would short out until the lighter popped out when it was done heating, and then everything turned back on. And
That's
so
bizarre.
It was very bizarre. We also had to, somehow one of the switches broke that is attached to the blower. And so the blower was turned on and off by a wire with a little clip under the hood. So it was either on all the way or off.
It got you where you needed to go.
And
for your first car, really, that's all you're looking. Well, at least I know if we had Brenna in here, she would probably go, "No, I need a certain, I need a certain vehicle to be these things in order to be acceptable." But I know our generation, if you had a vehicle, it didn't matter. What it had on it or whatever, you were driving that.
You were just happy it wasn't a BMX bike.
Exactly.
Or the bus.
Or the
some
pegs
of us used
on
to
the
take
back.
Buses to school and to places.
And some you do what you have to do. And there's been seasons where I know my friends are, it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm taking the bus, because one of the things you don't want to do in Phoenix is you don't want to have to walk anywhere extended.
Oh,
in the summer.
Nowhere.
So it's just you'll take what you can get, any type of transportation. But definitely not the pegs on the back of someone's bike.
No,
because that's even worse.
That's even worse.
But for me, you know how a lot of parents will give their child, if they're going to hand down a vehicle or buy a vehicle, I see you're going to get them something used, because it teaches value and stuff.
Sure.
Unless you're paranoid about your kid getting in an accident or something, and then you buy the safest car imaginable. But I feel like there's some kind of love that goes into that purchase. And desire for your child's well-being.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to make of it when my parents bought me a Suzuki Samurai, which was basically a death trap.
Because they believe you're a warrior.
Yeah. They're like, oh, he'll live through anything.
Samurai.
Let's make it a challenge.
Yeah.
But no, it was basically, they're prone to tip over.
Oh, that's a fun feature.
Yeah, and actually a couple of them were recalled because they had a propensity for flipping. And so my parents bought me that.
And so it's like a mini,
sent me on my way.
Little mini crossover kind of thing?
They're like little Jeeps. They look like toys.
Okay.
So if you take a Mini Cooper and made it look like a Jeep and then put it up on wheels that are way too big for it.
Sure.
That's what it is. So the center of gravity is non-existent. So And they basically were like, that looks like it might kill him. Let's have him drive that. That'll be great.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so you got that new?
No, not
No,
even.
Not even.
It was hanging on by a thread, and they felt that our firstborn should be driving around in this.
Yeah.
You know,
They wanted to give it a trial. Like, hey,
they
if he
wanted
can
the line to
survive-
end
yeah.
with me, is what it was. It was bad. So no air conditioning either
Oh.
in the vehicle.
And that was
So-
Texas.
No, that was here.
Well, that was here.
Yeah, that was here. And so not only was it the most accident-prone death traps that you could purchase legally, but it had no air conditioning. So it was like one way or another.
Yeah.
One way or another, we're going to take him down.
We're going to make him be a survivor.
Yeah, it's like if he lives through this, then he might be a superhero. That's I think what they were gambling on.
Yeah. This car was so big that all my friends had these little...
Mine was the opposite of your vehicle.
Yeah, it was the opposite. Yeah.
You could survive the apocalypse.
I could have survived the apocalypse in that car. And my friends and I, again, dumb kids, what we would do is we'd pull up to a stoplight and we'd play the game of chicken with our cars where like one of us would back away and there's no one else at the stoplight at this moment. It's like later in the evening or something and you're going to wherever you're going where you went in the 90s, like the mall or something. I don't know.
We went to the mall a lot.
Actually, I think the mall was closed at that time in Topeka, Kansas, but somewhere we were going. And what would happen is...
Anything open at Topeka, Kansas after 9 o'clock?
There's a reason I moved to Phoenix. Sorry, Topeka. Yeah, you're great. You're great.
Yes,
but
love it.
I
Salt
like
of the
things
earth.
open later. But one of us would back up, and then drive up and bump one of our friends' car. And everybody else has these little Honda hatchbacks and kind of, these little 80s cars. And I had the 76 giant Cadillac. And so they do that once or twice. And then you kind of hit a little bit harder with yours. And they're like, okay.
You win, yeah.
You win. And then I was volunteering at, I guess I worked at that point. At first I volunteered and then I worked at a Boy Scout camp way out in the boonies. And I would drive this big car out there. And one time I would come home on the weekends. And one time I was coming out of their big, long driveway that led to the camp. And there's this little 2-lane highway, back road highway, really hilly in this part of Kansas. Most people think Kansas is totally flat, but this part's hilly. And as I'm turning, my car gets a flat tire as I'm turning it. And so I kind of back into the opposite section of road that this highway is intersecting and going, okay, what do I do? Well, my tire's like totally flat. I'll go back across, drive slowly to the camp, and I'll change it there. And as I come slowly across the road, suddenly flying over the hill is this little, one of those 80s, mid-80s, early 90s pickup trucks. And this guy...
Like Mazda pickup truck, yeah.
Little Mazda type pickup truck. And there's nowhere for him to go because I am literally covering the entire road as I'm
Cadillac.
slowly going across. And he was going 85 or whatever, way faster than he's supposed to be, like most people do on those little, highways. There's
Middle
no
of
cops
nowhere.
back here. And so he has nowhere to go. And so he tries to go around me, hits the front corner of this Cadillac, and goes flying down into this big, deep ravine. Like big ditch ravine thing, hits the camp sign, destroys the sign, and suddenly my car, the fan and everything in front, it only actually banged up the front corner of this Cadillac, even though he hit it doing like 85 miles an hour. His car is destroyed.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, it's totaled.
So it's the side that I hit, totally destroyed. The side that then hit the sign, it's all messed up. And I jump out and run down. I'm 15, 16 years old. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's
You're probably 16 because you're driving alone.
to Kansas, homeschool work. You can drive at 15.
Really?
Yeah. Again, there's interesting stuff there. And
Nobody lives there.
If you're 14 and live on a farm, I don't know if this is still the case then, we had some friends that they're like, I live on a farm. It was like their parents had like a nice country house with a little bit of property, and they're like, I'm on a farm. And so they got to drive homeschool work at 14 years old. I'm so jealous of that. But anyhow, this guy, I run down and I get down in the ravine and he's okay. He gets out of his car. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, whatever. And, police came and whatever. And so after that, my dad had this nice little convertible red LeBaron, little kind of sports car-y, car that I think my uncle had just given him like a year and a half before, so he could kind of pass on this to me, this big Cadillac. And so that one became mine.
Wow.
Maybe it was a master plan all along
It
ditch the Cadillac and get a sports car. But
Yes.
yeah, first
It
cars.
worked.
Yeah, they're a thing that either scar you or leave impressions for life on you?
Yes, either by, a traffic accident such as yours, or near-death experiences. Because mine did spin out a couple times. Like I almost flipped it. There was one time when I made the mistake of hitting the brakes after it had rained. Which I mean, why I should have known better. Why would I expect it to
Arizona,
actually?
all that oil comes to the surface of the rain. It gets slick.
So I hit the brakes and I spin around twice. Like the back end just flips, and I'm like, and I spin twice. I go up against the curb, hit the curb, and tip. And there's that moment where you're like, it could go either way, really. At this point, it's like,
Am I gonna die?
If I lean this way, I'm good. If I lean this way, I'm
It's like
dead.
those movies where it's right on the edge of the cliff, and you're like, they lean forward one way.
Yeah, it's like nobody breathe and nobody dies, and so then on all fours or whatever, and I'm just sitting there because I'm just a kid. And facing oncoming traffic as that traffic's coming toward me, as thankfully they slowed, and everything. Just you get the looks that you're getting as they're passing around. You're like, what an idiot!
Right.
I'm like, all I did was hit the brakes. I've done it in other cars, and it meant that I stopped.
Yeah.
In this one, not so much.
Not so much.
Yeah, that's not what
I
it was.
braked before, guys. I know I'm a kid, but like, don't judge
I
me.
am a professional braker. So, but yeah, they'll scar you. But it's one of those things that if you live through it. You got a story to tell?
Got a story to tell.
And it's something now that I can share with my kids and make them even more fully appreciate the life that we have given them.
Yeah. So just to clarify, your oldest son is now...
Oh, he's 17 in a week.
17. So you're going to give your Charger? It's a Charger, right?
No.
What is it?
No. It's a Charger, but yeah, he's not getting that.
I thought it was a Charger.
Yeah. You see, look, my first car has affected the type of car that I buy now. It's like it is the complete opposite of that. It is a beast muscle car. Like I'm going, yeah.
Like it's low. It's not going to flip.
Yeah, it ain't flipping at all.
You're like, my driving's proved that.
But the car that we made the decision, we bought a car. We bought a Subaru, and it's going to be for all three of the boys to drive and everything. But it's got.
I'm sure that'll work out.
So many. It's got so many safety features on it. It's got like all these things where it beeps when you get too close to the lines, like everything. So yeah, we're kind of. I've gone from my parents trying to kill me to me trying to make sure that my boys live forever. So,
that's good. Yeah. You guys aren't even going to be able to drive it that much because y'all got to share it, and then it's got safety features, and that's good.
It's fine. We're going to force them to live at home for the rest of their lives. So.
Until you have to pay more of their bills. And you're like, you know what? You can go. Well, we got a great podcast today. We got a lot of fun things, so here we go.
Yep.
So I am with Tracy and Shea from School Connect. And School Connect is something that we've talked a lot about here at Pure Heart. And Dan will mention it on the weekends, and we'll highlight things about it. And once or twice a year, we have events that are connected to it. But unless you've been around since the origin of it, I think a lot of times people don't know exactly what it is or what it's about. And because I used to be across the hallway from Tracy, when I first started working at Pure Heart, I got to actually see some of the beginning foundations and the origins of it. So if we were to say, like, give me the elevator pitch, the little, like, you've got a business leader or a pastor or something in front of you for like 2 minutes, what do you say to them?
Yeah, I'm so happy to get to talk to you about it, Matt, because we have some great memories about it all. And so what we say when we're giving an elevator pitch is we connect schools to their community because it takes a village to help every single child reach their potential. We know that educators cannot do everything that kids need, that parents and families need, and then even educators need. Only one organization will never be able to do that. So we're all about bringing everyone together to one table and really deciding, oh my gosh, this church brings mental health support, which is something incredible that Pure Heart provides. Or, oh, this school needs food and clothing and product for their homeless students, their McKinney-Vento students. And look, the LifeBridge Resource Center has that. So we're all about bringing those resources and those people together to help that happen.
I love it. So good. And your role in School Connect, what is your actual title?
Yes, I'm the founder and CEO of School Connect. And all of that happened because I started as a pastor here at Pure Heart 13 years ago. And at the time, I was pastor of discipleship. And I kept doing this schools ministry on the side. I was just passionate about it. So we were doing things like our Love Our Schools Day. We were serving, and this had started a few years before I became a pastor here. And so Dan, Stefan, and Mark Hendricks and others in leadership said, we love what you're doing. Keep doing it. It's great. And then about a little over 10 years ago, it was 10 years in January, Dan came to me and he said, this schools thing is just incredible. We've only been working primarily in one school district. What if we were to start a nonprofit and give this to the city? Like, he just blew my mind because I had not thought that thought, but Dan thought that thought. And he came to me and asked. And so I honestly went away for a weekend because I knew that what he was asking me to do was become the pastor over everything outreach that Pure Heart did and start a nonprofit called School Connect.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of...
That's only a couple things. It's
Yeah.
interesting how Dan asks some of those things sometimes. That is a great vision. How am I going to do all that?
Yes. And I think I just had to really know that God was behind it. And so what I would say was, I went away for a weekend with some friends to a cabin and my husband, and I prayed and prayed and prayed. And I felt like the Lord said to me, do you want to impact a city? And my heart kind of leapt. Like, what? Really? Do I want to impact a city through what we do with schools? So even though I knew it was going to be really challenging, I was like, I can't think of something more wonderful to try to do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, Shea, I've known you also for not as long as your mom, but a while. And when I asked you to be on this, what was your comment?
I don't remember what my comment was.
You said, I'm not usually the person in front of the camera.
That's correct.
I'm usually more behind the scenes. But you're like, I'm down for it. I'm willing to do it. So thank you for being willing to do it, because it is, I know that sort of feeling. For years here at Pure Heart, I was like behind the camera, in the background. But what I love is that you are a force within School Connect also, of the things behind the scenes. I recently was at the stadium downtown for the
Summit.
For the School Connect
Footprint
Summit.
Center.
And like all the things that you're doing to try and coordinate people and get them out on the court and get them in front of the cameras where they're supposed to be. It was a feat of logistics. So tell us a little bit about your role within School Connect and how did you get plugged in, besides the fact that Tracy's your mom?
Yes, that's always the tricky part, right? I like to sometimes say she dragged me kicking and screaming. She always says, like Dan, big vision. And then I think they're both really hard workers and they just take off. And I kind of somehow got caught up in that whole process and that whole vision. I like to be behind the scenes. I don't like to be, I feel uncomfortable and awkward, so, but I have, I think, grown over the years.
You have.
And learned a lot. And so when you asked, I don't know, I think we had just talked recently.
Yeah.
And so I think I was kind of like, I'll talk to Matt. Yeah, I could do that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so your role involved at School Connect, how long you been there, and what is what does it encompass?
Yes, so I don't remember how long I've been here. I think at least 5 years.
It's just a blur. You've blocked
Every
it out.
time I started out volunteering and it switched to an official role at some point, and I don't know when that was, to be honest. But what I do a lot of training development. I think that I'm a creative heart, and what that means to me is storytelling, and it also means kind of interpreting the world so that I can tell people stories. And I think that's one of the things that's connects to School Connect's mission so much, is that really what we're doing is we're trying to, as Tracy would say, shine a bright light on the community and the people, their beauty, their hearts, because everybody's just waiting to be seen. And when you can do that, when you can tell their story, then you give people that aha moment, and you give them the ability to have that connection where they say, oh, that's like me. And now you've empowered them to walk forward into a vision that you're able to share, and it's a beautiful thing.
So cool. I would say that probably, Tracy, I would imagine one of the most challenging things is, besides getting people to show up as volunteers and all, coordinating people with different agendas and different visions and really bringing people together. Schools have become sort of this political football these days. And can you share about how School Connect has really tried to rise above that? And how do you, when people suddenly start going on to that tangent of, well, the school should or they should do that, what would you say to those types of people?
One of the things I would say is that there are a lot of things that we can all agree upon. And those things would be every child in every kind of school needs a village of support around them. Children who are growing up in poverty still need food, they need clothing, they need support systems. Right now, across the board, all children are struggling with anxiety and depression, and even suicidal ideation is happening earlier and earlier. So we can all agree that kids need support, right? That parents should be really involved in their child's education, and we want to, as a mission for Pure Heart, we're really want to make a difference in families' lives. We want to connect with parents and connect with kids. So that overcomes a lot of barriers because every kind of school and every kind of family and every kind of child, needs that kind of support. And then I guess one other thing I would say is that I get to work with Christian teachers, principals, and superintendents and school board members. So that's a really neat thing because you get to work with people of faith who see their work in the school as their mission. That's so powerful, right? So it's such an opportunity to kind of link arms with Christians who want to make a difference. And I know Dan just had me bring a Christian superintendent to the gathering of the Better Together churches. So all those pastors got to hear about this superintendent, Dr. Jeff Sprout, his walk with God, his history, the prayer requests he had for his school district. So yeah, I think that helps.
Yeah. And what I really love is just the, there's not a judgment, it's like, hey, we just want to bring everything to the table to help kids. That's something I think we all can get behind, right? Is like, we want a healthier community, right? We want healthy adults, right? Not people that are struggling. If we can deal with some of these issues and some of these challenges, initially, man, what's it going to do long term? How's that going to affect and make kids who are right now in school be better? Especially, I know you guys had to navigate all types of stuff during COVID. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think one of the things that was beautiful about COVID was we got to see the body of Christ step up in pretty amazing and major ways. So we worked with Pure Heart, with the LifeBridge Resource Center to get food to schools and to families all around us. Honestly, there was a huge need for that. Things like masks, sanitizer, like all these things that poor families didn't have that they desperately needed. So that was really exciting. And then, man, we had this crazy, amazing thing happen where Scottsdale Bible Church called us and said, hey, we know that schools don't have all the computers they need to be able to do school during COVID. And they said, would you help us? Could we raise funds to help address the digital divide? And they raised $1.5 million. School Connect was able to buy computers from a manufacturer directly for, I think, $190 a piece. And we gave out 12,455 computers to school districts.
That is awesome.
In the city of Phoenix. So, wow. I mean, the body of Christ just stepped up in incredible ways.
I love that. Shea, so School Connect, it's not just something that's happened in Phoenix now. Like it's going out and out from here. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I don't know. How many years ago did we start expanding
About 5 years,
nationally?
yeah, 5
Maybe
years
5
ago.
years. Yeah, so I guess one of the things I want to say is going back to what you were saying about what connects us all. So that kind of, to me, that's one of the things that is, there's another thing that Tracy says all the time. I probably walk around parroting all the different things she says, but there's a school in every neighborhood. And so I think one of the things that if I were to think about what I would want the faith community to know, it's just that, if you have, if you think about strategically the need. We often hear about the need, and we all care about kids, and it really comes down to what are we all connected by? We're all connected by just the fact that we all care about what happens to kids. Where we get divided is how do we do that, and what does that look like? And we have really strong opinions about that. But when you bring everyone together, if you're able to look at, we have a network of people that can really make an impact on kids' lives, and I just think that's such a beautiful thing. We started to work nationally, I would say, really looking at, so what does community mean? Why community, right? You have to answer that question. And because I grew up with Tracy, one of the things that is so beautiful is that I got to see the impact of having the neighbors and the local school and everyone kind of be together in one place. And I can be introverted and I can tend to be a little cynical about those things, but I can just tell you that watching that happen, watching people come alive and build trust, it all of a sudden builds flourishing and it changes everything. And so we started to kind of do that same thing with different leaders in different cities around the country. And I've gotten the chance to get to know them and to hear their stories and watch them begin to build trust at local schools and network. And it's just been incredible to watch it happen.
That's so cool. I love that word trust, because a lot of times we can get into, like you said, cynical. The world can be a cynical place. And to build trust with someone requires us to sit down a lot of times with them and hear that they want the same thing I want. Now, I may have been on polar opposite sides from them, where I was going, well, they don't want what I want, because look what they're trying to push, what they're trying to do. Yet when everybody sits down at a table and they all go, wait a minute, we really want the same thing. It's just we have different perspectives, different ideas of how to get there. Then we suddenly can be united and figure out a plan to get these kids we care about, these schools we care about. I think it's amazing, especially because there's, I think some people may not recognize or know, not to any fault of their own, just because they aren't around it. There's some public schools that are essentially impoverished. I mean, I remember one that we were connected to with Pure Heart, where they were locking up the few balls that they had in metal crates because they were afraid those few balls were going to get stolen, and they weren't going to be able to replace that. Where a school we went and served at recently, they said, hey, there's the kids took some of the waters. It was a hot day, a field day, and the kids took some of the waters for the volunteers and drank them, and we're going to go buy some more. And we go, hey, you don't need to buy waters for us. We can go buy waters or Gatorade or whatever. They go, no, we have a little bit of money we haven't used this year that we'd love to serve you in that way. It's not like they have this big pool of cash they're just sitting on. This is sometimes ones that are really scraping by for needs like janitorial or maintenance or staffing for teachers. Some of these classes are huge, and it's just heartbreaking to see what some of these kids are going through. So tell me some of the stories that you guys have seen of success as you guys have paired along, connecting different members of the community to help and love schools.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's so beautiful about what you just shared is that they wanted to give. Mm-hmm. Even in the midst of not having enough resources, and that kills me. I get to listen to the stories because I get to help put together videos. So I get to listen to their stories, and I think that's one of the things that always sort of bothers me is when we hear people talk about people who are disadvantaged, or maybe they don't have as much as somebody else, talking about them as being needy. And I think that we have so much to learn from them. There's so much strength, and so it makes me want to be more like them and to shine a light on, because they have to be stronger than other people who have things handed to them doesn't mean they're less. It in fact means that they're rising in a beautiful way. So I love that. I also wanted to say that you asked about stories. The video that we recently did about Deb Lipnaka, I got to interview Dondi Rodriguez.
She's a member of our church and has been involved and connected to the school, the passion for these schools, because she works within them for how many years?
13 years.
13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's actually been in education for 30 years.
30 years.
Isn't that incredible?
I love it.
So, yes. And so, one of the things that Dante shared, though, that I had never heard from him before, was that he, when he was in school, he was the kid that was very quiet and he was in the back. But that was because English wasn't his first language. And so he really struggled and he was really embarrassed to read out loud. But his teacher took extra time with him and taught him how to write and read. And as he was able to do that, then he suddenly was able to share and to be able to become a leader and I think that's one of the things. So his gratitude, he said, teachers are frontline workers, and I want to share that, and I think the impact that educators have is incredible. And then the opportunity that we have as leaders, by connecting to schools and by building those relationships and friendships, we learn from one another. And the one thing that happens that's incredible is multiplication of resources and of relationships and of network power. And as you watch that grow, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's been a joy to watch Deb Lupnaka really bring the School Connect model to many schools in the neighborhood and represent Pure Heart as well as School Connect. She has a group of people who build supplies for schools. They build little supplies for the homeless children. They provide teacher supplies. Teachers, they're the ones, like Shea said, they're the frontline people, so they know when a child comes and they need underwear, they need socks, they need shoes, they need, disinfectant wipes, like all of these things that they need. And so she has a whole team of school champions who all work together every single month and provide incredible support for the kids. But also she understands from the inside of what Shea was describing was teachers often pull out of their own pocket the money to provide for all these things. And so
because they're making so much money, right?
because they're just like raking it in. And so it's such a beautiful thing to watch. Another thing that Pure Heart has done in partnership with Brushfire, they just did Teacher Appreciation. So they brought Brushfire burritos to 11 schools worth of, literally hundreds and hundreds of educators. And it's so beautiful. And then there are other times when, because of partnerships that School Connect has, we get to see very impoverished schools experience things they've never gotten to. So this time for Teacher Appreciation, we are in a partnership with the Sons Charities. And they said to me, is there a school that we could go to and we can bring the Mercury, his name is Scorch, to come to the school,
Like
and
their
mascot, right? And so they got to choose Granada East Elementary in the Alhambra School District, a very high poverty school with these kids who love basketball. So they brought Scorch, and I watched the video that the Scorch was jumping all over the desks and connecting with all the kids.
That's so cool.
And then they were able to provide basketballs for the kids. And then for the teachers, they gave Mercury tickets out to all the educators of that school. So, when you're talking about incentives, reasons to feel that you want your educators to feel seen and heard and valued, and you want the kids to have some experiences that oftentimes they never get. And so that was a beautiful thing that just happened about a week ago.
That is so cool. I love that. I think also I don't want to say surprised, but in a way I was, things that I continued to hear is how much there was a desire to find a place to give to by the business community. Is that a lot of times, again, there's everybody has their opinions about stuff. It's like, they're just making all their money and this and that. And it can be easy to disparage that. But yet what I've seen is there are tons of businesses that go, we're looking for a place to give to. We want our money to go to something that's going to make a difference, that's going to be effective. And they want to be careful about where they send it so that it has the best results. It's the most effective. Share a little bit about what you guys have seen in the business community, how they've leaned in.
So one of the really cool partnerships that we have seen develop is with Fullerton Financial and Harold W. Smith Elementary in the Glendale Elementary District. One of the things I love about that partnership was the principal, Tara Burnaby, was saying to them, hey, we just know that if we can create an incentive room, a place where we can put things that as kids are hitting their academic goals, they're able to go into this room and choose a prize, that will really make a difference in helping that kid feel like, oh, even though I killed myself for that math test or that spelling or whatever it is they're trying to accomplish, that they had somebody who knew that they were working at that. And so they created that with Fullerton Financial, and that has actually been the reason why those kids have changed academically. Like they have changed by several grade levels because of the work between the partnership between.
It was like a D school or
Yep,
something before,
yep.
and they're
close to an A.
Yeah, close to an A
They're
school.
close to
at
an
this
A school
point.
now in 3 years. I
in
mean, that's
3
just
years.
like astonishing.
And
That's
I think,
astonishing.
I think people have resigned that just, well, there's not enough funds or this, and so these kids are never going to be able to succeed there. But man, if we can bring in these partnerships of volunteers and finances and just connections, like what can we do to lift up these schools and ultimately lift up these kids? I love it. Tell me some more stories about some of the exciting things you guys have seen over the years.
Well, I'll just add along with the business, the line of storytelling about a business, was that we recently had Taylor Perkins won our School Champion of the Year award. And so I got to listen to her talk a little bit about the garden that they put together at one school and different gardens they've done it at several schools. So she doesn't just work with one school. She and Chase Building Team work across the state. And hearing her talk about, she said it's not just us, it's also urban farming education, it's the teachers and the parents, it's all these people coming together to do this. And then also talking about the gardening specifically, you can think of something like that being such a, like maybe a small thing, I guess, but the kids' joy talking about vermiculture and worms and all the questions they were asking, like, do the worms eat the plants? Like, what are we doing here? But just, she said, watching their joy. And she said, the thing about a garden is everyone can do it. It's like dancing. And I love that quote. I loved, she said when she gardens, it takes her to a place of abundance where she has more that she's growing to share. And I think that's so part of the School Connect model and the idea of who, empowering the people in the community. What is it that you have that you want to share? And what are your goals and dreams? And how do we work together to get there? And I think one of the things that I've heard so often every time I talk to Taylor is, she said, from the very first time I met her, she said, I work for a company where we build to make a difference. And that's really what we believe. We don't just say that. My boss tells me to go do that and believes in that. But then she's also said, we just have an amazing business community here. There are so many, and she started talking about all these different organizations. And, with School Connect, we work, with core construction. We work with urban farming education on the nonprofit side. We work with, so many businesses. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona,
Peter Piper Pizza,
VSMG. I mean, there's a million different ones. But it's incredible to see, just like you were saying, you can kind of become cynical about businesses and think that the donation is about X, Y, or Z, but that's not really our experience. Mm-hmm. Our experience really is that, they just want to know that it's going to make an impact, that it's going to do something valuable. And when you connect them to, schools know where it's needed, just like you were saying. They know, the kid that is under-resourced, or they know the particular thing that if they had that one thing, it would make a difference. And so I love watching that.
Another story that I really like is a little town up in Holbrook. So Holbrook town, they have 5 schools, and those schools represent not only their rural town, but also basically 9 tribal communities. So they're a very diverse community. And so they had their Roundtable Cafe event, which stands for Community and Family Engagement, and that was all the stakeholders at the table with each one of their principals, which we call the village around a school, and they planned their Love Our Schools Day. And as part of their Love Our Schools,
and the Love Our Schools Day is.
It's a service day that happens usually on a Saturday, and Pure Heart is very involved in doing that every single year. Up in Holbrook, they decided to do Love Our Schools Week. So they did it all week long, And so they did all kinds of things as a part of it. But one thing they did was the junior high school teacher, principal, said, I really want to try to engage my parents more at the school. You know, that's the age where kids are like, I don't want to see my parent at school. But they're like, hey, we've got to figure a way to do that. And they also were struggling with chronic absenteeism, which has gone, skyrocketed as well. And then they were also facing a staff that is overworked and wears too many hats. So the idea she came up with was, what if I invited parents to come in during lunchtime and give a lunch break to one of their child's teachers? Wow. So they started having a parent come in at lunchtime. And at first it was like, she said, it was really funny because at first you'd see that kid, hiding behind their friends when their parent showed up at the lunch break. But eventually it became, they walked in the door and kids were throwing their arms around that parent. And now that teacher felt really seen and cared for by the parent. So she had over 50 parents who are now regularly coming in and giving a break to their teachers during lunchtime. And here's been the impact. It's dramatically changed parent engagement. Now parents are lining up, planning to be at this school. Then it changed school culture. Now parents, adults and kids are connecting during lunchtime like they never have in the whole history of the school. And now that is impacting chronic absenteeism. So what a beautiful, beautiful, simple something to do that has really started to kind of move the dial in amazing ways at that junior high.
And I just wonder also at homes, like suddenly now the kids feel like their parents, are more engaged. Maybe they're caring more. The parents now have context. A lot of times I know, pick up my daughter from school and I don't know what happened to her for hours. I don't have that context. And so I'm not sure how to even relate to her, what to ask her about, if she just like,
Yeah.
And so for these parents to be able to suddenly, I'm just imagine the families and stuff that, this family connections that are going to grow out of this, the schools are going to get healthier, the mental health of teachers get healthier. I love this. It's so, just so exciting to see some of the things that School Connect is doing. And so School Connect is in how many cities, states?
Yeah, we are in 13 cities right now across the country. And we're really literally talking from, the East Coast all the way through to the West Coast in California. So,
and if we had to throw a number, like, kids that kind of this represents under that.
Well, we're talking probably around 1,500 schools. And if you do that times 500, it'll give you the average size of schools. So a large number of kids. Yeah. It's really cool. Probably we're talking hundreds of thousands of children. But what's beautiful about it is each community is a little bit different. They're different churches, different kinds of schools, businesses, nonprofit, civic groups who are all working together. But the core model is the same across them all, which is, hey, let's build a village of support around a school. And honestly, as a believer, what we're really doing is creating a community of love, of Jesus love. And like Shea said, there's a school in every neighborhood. Oh my gosh. What a privilege, what an opportunity we have. So what we're saying to churches is you get to build community with all the families and the kids in your neighborhood right around your school when you connect with the school. That's a beautiful thing.
What I love is just the fact that I've seen Pure Heart as we've just loved without asking anything in return. All these to the schools nearby us. Hey, we're here to serve you. We're here to care for you. We're here to clean desks, do landscaping, whatever that is. We just want to care for you and love you. And just the doors that's opened for us at Pure Heart has been just cool to see. So thank you guys for your willingness to just jump in and share a little bit about all the amazing things that you guys have just done and the vision that you have for School Connect.
What a great interview. I'm so glad that we get to be a part of changing kids' lives through School Connect all across our country, across our state, and across our city. It's such a cool thing that these guys are a part of, and we're so glad that we got to have them on the podcast. So let's go ahead and jump in with What We Don't Know with Brenna Pavkov. It's going to be a great segment. Let's jump right in.
Well, we're here with Brenna once again, talking about things that, honestly, we're disconnected from. Matt and I were from a different generation.
Yeah.
Days gone by, days of yore.
Days of yore.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we're discovering new things in a segment called what we don't know. So Brenna, tell us something we don't know.
Tell me something we don't
Let me
know.
tell you, you guys, the best news I found out last week. There's going to be a baby Bieber.
Wow, a baby Bieber.
Well, you saw
Justin
how
Bieber
excited she got about
and his
Bieber
wife.
potentially owning
Facebook?
MySpace. Yeah.
I
MySpace.
do. I have been known to have a little Bieber fever. I love the Biebers. I think they're amazing. And they posted to Instagram this last week. They did a vow renewal. And I thought that was a little interesting because they've only been married like 6 years. So I was like, why are you renewing your vows? They zoom out, camera pans out. She's pregnant. I was so excited for
They've been
them.
married for 6
so
years.
they-
How old is he?
I don't know. I don't know. I think probably mid to late 20s.
Okay. For some reason, I thought he was like 12. So,
No, not anymore.
yeah. That, I
In your
guess,
mind?
yeah, in my mind, he'll always be that old.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Aw, little kid.
the
Good for
the-
him.
Justin.
You know, growing up at church, you go back to I go out to be Kansas, and they're like, "How old are you now?" You know, you're just whatever. Oh, I'm being told 30. 30 years
Yes.
old is how old the Biebs is. I'm a little bit sad that wasn't just
Well, but in all
That you didn't
fairness,
just know
yeah.
or that I didn't
that
know.
you didn't know that
I
you didn't
should have
fangirl enough to
known.
know his age.
Yeah,
I
and his
don't
birth
know
date.
his age, his
and
blood
what-
type.
Whoa.
No, but I think what would be really interesting is trying to predict their baby name because that's a thing right now. On social media, there are all of these influencer baby name predictions. And so I want to share with you guys a couple real life baby names that influencers have shared that I have personally seen on TikTok.
That they think it's going to be.
So not for
Or that they're suggesting.
not for the Biebers necessarily. These are names that influencers have said themselves that they want to use for their babies.
For their babies. Okay.
So
all right.
imagine real life children being
Popular
named these
influencer
names.
names. Baby names.
Rumble.
Rumble. Oh, that's
Let's get ready to.
Rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble. I think Rumble seat, like those old, wasn't it like the old Model Ts or something? The seat that was
yeah,
in
the
the
Rumble
back.
seat.
It was
Yep.
the Rumble seat. That
Yeah.
I'm not that old, but
I don't know what that is.
I did not own one of those vehicles, let me just say.
not from that
Yeah.
generation.
Yes. I've
Another
heard.
influencer said a baby girl name that they like is Pear.
Pear.
Like the fruit?
Like the fruit.
Oh, well,
Pear.
that's
Because otherwise it'd be pair of socks, and that would just be kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
The same influencer said that she likes Bubble as a middle name.
Bubble.
Bubble.
Hey, Bubble.
Bubble.
That's your personality though has to match.
You gotta
Yeah,
be bubbly.
if you were
You
like
get that
kind
wrong.
of down,
Yeah.
it's like, my name's Bubble.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't have the same ring.
You're always like
You have to be
popping your
like,
Bubble or something.
my name's Bubble.
Yeah.
Yes, very happy, very
Very
energetic.
up.
Yes. Another one was Frosty, which makes me think of Wendy's.
Or
think of snowman.
the snowman.
Yeah, that's
again,
I automatically with the snowman. So,
Well, I thought of a nice little chocolate milkshake thing. So I don't know if like Justin and Haley are gonna do a weird name if they're Christian. So maybe they'll
a
name
Bible name.
a weird Bible name like Nebuchadnezzar or something.
Melchizedek or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Nebuchadnezzar Bieber. That's not only a lot of syllables, but a lot of consonants.
Jabez.
Jabez. Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Lazarus.
I haven't heard a Jabez. Yeah.
Jabez.
Maybe
Bezzy.
one.
I
Prayer-
actually
prayer
wait
of
dibs. I
Jabez
like that one. Bez Bieber.
I had a gal that I dated when I was really young, and her parents named their child Mighty Friend.
Mighty Friend.
Mighty Friend.
I have an idea for Alex's kid's name.
Oh,
Yes, mighty.
Mighty
Mighty.
Friend. That's mighty. Oh, that actually
That's
fit.
amazing.
I'll let
Their
them
last
know.
name wasn't Friend, but yeah, that actually would work.
Oh, so Mighty Friend was the first name or the first
it
and
was
middle?
like it was going to be the first name together, and then I guess there was some disagreement between the mom and dad, and they switched it to
shocking.
the middle name.
Oh,
so
not better.
yeah,
So like Samantha Mighty Friend.
yeah, I don't want to say his full name because then people will be like googling it, and
Yeah.
you know, but
Fair, I would. Well, yeah. Now you know there's going to be a baby Bieber, and
Bieber.
we're all excited.
So here's what I think is interesting is that all these people with the really unique names are now like adults. Have you noticed this, Heath? Mm-hmm. Like there's suddenly you're like running into the like, I don't know, the Pleasant or something like that. You know, like some of these just unique millennial names that now they're like running companies.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
make any comments about weird names because Heath has always just been weird. So,
Hey, a bar. Heath
well, yeah, but it's just not common. So it's just like I can't say anything about other people's names. I mean, unless it's like wheat or rain. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Now, my parents, they were going to name me some, I don't remember what, but it was some prophet in the Bible. And my mom was like, no, he was a drunk or something. And so she they decided not to do that.
Sure.
So they went with Matthew, which they go, we didn't know anybody named Matthew, which actually, if you think about it, there's not a lot of people that are older than me. Yeah. And for those that don't know, I'm 44, just turned. But there's not a lot of people that are older than like mid-40s that are named Matthew that I've ever met.
McConaughey.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but he's not that. I mean, what's he? He's got to be. He's under 50.
He's got to be in his 50s.
I think 50s.
Yeah.
Okay, 50s, but not a lot.
Yeah.
So they, people
Broderick?
call me Matt all the time, and my mom was like, "We just didn't think there was any way anybody could shorten your name, like Mal, like
Yeah.
Hugh.
And I'm like, you didn't think? Well, so
Hugh.
I worked at a leather and luggage place for a little bit when I was a teenager, and my mom also, it was friends of ours that owned it. My mom worked there also, and the guy would call me Matt, and my mom would always be like Hugh, and so like Matt Hugh, to like correct him, and so he thought it was hysterical just to start calling me Hugh.
Hugh.
Yeah. So
Now we have another nickname for you.
yeah,
It's perfect.
Hugh.
So,
Hugh.
okay. No, I was going to tell everyone you have told everyone your real first name. Carl.
Yeah, Carl with a K.
So
not Carl with
was
a
that
C. My
is
dad.
that a Christian name?
No, no. So my dad's Carl Kirkwood Nystrom, and then I'm Carl Matthew Nystrom, and my dad goes by Kirk, and I go by Matt. And so if I had a son that was like, Carl Wingly Watts or something, I don't know,
great
like what do I
middle
call him?
name.
Wingle. Like
Please
you have
don't
to-
name your child
yeah,
Wingly
have
Watts.
have to shorten that middle name to whatever to kind of keep in the tradition. But I didn't have voice, so
Yeah.
But my dad, we asked my grandma, like, why did you name him Carl Kirkwood Nystrom, but you always just called him Kirk? And she said, it's because he was supposed to be a senator. And she's like, but that didn't happen, did it? I was like, wow. She's
That's a lot of pressure. She's held that against you since.
yeah, like it was like, and
Yeah.
it's like, that's, he was supposed to be a senator, and that's why I named him that. Oh, okay, well.
Dang.
He was an attorney that turned out pretty good.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
like has his own little office. Like, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess it just didn't measure up. All right.
Didn't measure up.
Parents
yeah.
have a lot of expectations for their kids.
It's
so.
fair. Yeah.
And I'm sure the baby Bieber is going to have a lot of
Oh,
expectations.
can you imagine being
Yeah.
like, it's like the Kardashian kid or something. Just what do you got to.
Especially if he's going to be named Wiggly Watt.
Wiggly Watt.
Wiggly
Yeah.
Watt
Wiggly Watt
Bieber.
Bieber.
Wiggly Watt
Yeah.
Bieber. I'm going to submit that.
You're going to expect big things from someone with
I
that
want
name.
a commission
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
if they use it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always love learning what I don't know. Because even though I'm a Gen Z person myself, there's a lot of things that I don't know and I don't follow and keep up with in culture, and Brenna does. So I like learning these things. I hope you do too. And this podcast wouldn't be complete without some dad jokes. So let's jump right in with our resident Pure Heart dad, Alex Friend.
So we have a segment we do called Heard It From a Friend, and you are Alex Friend, and you tell dad jokes to the band in their ears, the little ears that they have so they can hear the music and stay on tune and rhythm and all that stuff. And you tell them jokes in their ears. And so you've brought some of that into our podcast segment. And we actually have Brenna
I'm so excited
today
to be here.
instead of Heath. Heath had to run. And so Brenna gets to hang with us. And I feel like she can appreciate maybe some of these dad jokes even more because
I'm
you're-
pumped because I hear them. I do hear them when I serve on the weekends.
Is it Heath had to run or just did not want to be here?
Did not want to be
Didn't
here.
wanna
I
be
hate
here.
to break it
Yeah,
to you.
it's you're not wrong. He last time was a little tough on him.
Yeah.
There were some tears.
I figured, sometimes you just you can't take it.
Can't take another dad joke. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. So what do you have in store for us today?
Well, I wanted to start off easy. We have Brenna with us. Kind of just
Sure.
just ease into it.
Dip our toes in.
What has 5 toes and a heel and is not your foot?
This one feels more like a riddle than a joke.
yeah.
My foot.
For some reason, my brain went to like loaf of bread, like heel.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
yeah. I
there's
was
no
looking
toes
like
in a loaf of bread.
heel.
Okay, so forewarning, you're kind of pulling a Matt here. You need to not think so hard into it.
Right. Don't.
That's become the
Don't
new phrase.
use
Pulling a
logic.
mat. Like, although, like in fairness, if it's using logic, I guess that's not pulling a mat. Might not be bad.
Yeah, wait, that's kind of cool.
Use it as a
Intellectualizing
verb.
things.
Like over at SpaceX, they're like looking at the plans, and someone's like, "Wow, you really pulled a mat for this rocket booster."
Yeah. That's what they say, I've heard.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's yeah.
Okay, you're gonna have to help me with this one. What's there's a word for it where the word backward and forward is the same thing, like race car.
Oh,
What's the word?
Palindrome.
oh wow,
Right? Isn't it?
Is
Sure. Well, that's why I asked. I don't know.
I think it's called a palindrome.
Okay.
Isn't that like something that people play in Dungeons and Dragons? Palindrome?
It sounds like it. Hold
Some
on.
sort of like fantasy game or something, I feel like. Or
It's definitely a word that I cannot pronounce, but that definitely sounds right.
I Googled it. I am right. So I'm
my
really
gosh,
smart.
wow,
Okay. So
Hey,
with
pulled a Matt.
I pulled a Matt.
yes. So with that in mind, absolutely nothing backwards is genetanyelatolospa, which ironically means absolutely nothing.
I like that one.
Actually, it sounded kind of Ukrainian. That's like if you
I spent
said it with,
all
like, an
day
accent,
trying to say
like,
that.
Practicing it.
muskuloskavoto, like or something, like very like Eastern Europe kind of, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got.
That's all you got.
God.
Well, that was enlightening.
The absolutely nothing one really, since it took so long for me to prepare, I figured that
Just
will be
wanted-
like
you would have
that'll be
tried
the
a
big
few more
anchor.
times. Hey, so other people can tell it. Do you want to give us another, repeat of how that's phrased?
Yes. Genetanyelatolospa.
Genetanyelospa. There we go.
Now
Make sure
you
it's an
know.
not an ah.
You heard
You
it
don't
from a
want to
friend.
get that wrong.
Exactly.
If you're a dad, you want to make sure that joke's going out
100%.
correct. Yeah.
Right.
Practicing that in front of the mirror. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You are welcome.
And that's Heard It From a Friend.
I just want to say thanks so much for listening in with us today. We have a lot of awesome episodes coming up that you are not going to want to miss. So if you like our podcast, make sure that you follow and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. We love you, Pure Heart family, and we will talk to you next Tuesday.